For the first time in the over a year and a half since this show has been around, I get to come and talk to you guys after the Bears win 2 games in a row. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the winners that come from the game and what the Bears did differently and how they use certain players differently to help them get that win. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every single social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. And listen, the Bears got a dub against the Detroit Lions. Former Chicago Bear David Montgomery on that team. There's a lot of storylines. The Bears getting their first back-to-back wins since Matt Eberflus took over the team and our only second divisional win since Matt Eberflus has been the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Listen, at the end of the day, it was fun to see. It was fun to watch this game. You know, Jalen Johnson getting his 4th interception on the season. He missed a pick 6 again, but you know, it is what it is when it comes down to it. But the Bears did some things differently in this game, right? I want to talk about that first. When you look at it, D'Onta Foreman was back at starter at the running back position, right? Not Khalil Herbert, not Roschon Johnson. It was D'Onta Foreman yet again. What does this mean for his future with the Bears? Well, listen, D'Onta Foreman has been beastly since the Bears actually started using him after having several healthy scratches to start this season. And when it came down to it, he played 56% of the snaps yesterday, and he got 42% of the carries. Khalil Herbert had 17 snaps and 12% of the carries, and Roschon Johnson played 27% of the snaps, but only 4% of the carries. So what does that mean now? Listen, D'Onta Foreman for the rest of this season, at least we'll see, but he's the starter for the Chicago Bears. You know, it is what it is. He's not the best catcher when it comes down to it, and you know, you have those areas. Roschon Johnson's actually best of that. Johnson also played on 86% of the long down and distance snaps and got all of them in the 2-minute drill snaps as well. So that shows how they feel like Roschon Johnson and the big playmaking ability that he does have. But when it comes down to it, D'Onta Foreman is the guy now at that running back position. And hey, listen, Khalil Herbert, who's never really kind of gotten back all the way in track after his injury, D'Onta Foreman, when he's out there, he's been the best one. And, you know, we'll see what that means for his future going forward with the Chicago Bears. He only signed a 1-year deal this offseason. Now, also with that is that we're seeing a reduced amount of snaps for Yannick Ngakoue. He played a season low 52% of the snaps when it came down to it. And listen, at the end of the day, Yannick Ngakoue, who is not good in the run game at all, right? At the end of the day, it's going down. When you look at, he played 58.5% of the snaps prior to that, and it's going down. And so he keeps dropping down when it comes down to it. And, you know, with the presence of Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker also stepping up and playing more of the downs for the Chicago Bears, even starting to creep up on Yannick Ngakoue snaps and things like that. It is what it is. And we'll see, you know, I think we've all kind of been in alignment that Yannick Ngakoue is probably not coming back for the Chicago Bears unless he's willing to take a huge pay cut. I don't see him really coming back for the Chicago Bears next season. And, you know, you look to continue to evaluate things when it comes down to it at the end of the season, but I don't necessarily see it. I don't see it happening. But, hey, I could be wrong on that. Maybe something crazy does happen where they bring him back because he's a veteran. Maybe he's kind of humbled and has to take a much lesser deal. But when it comes down to it, that's just what it is. And then also, Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson kind of split their number of snaps played. And so Matt Eberflus is finding a way to put his 2 young rookie cornerbacks out there and really swapping and using them in certain situations. And I think you can expect to see that for the remainder of the season as well. They're not going to take away too many of Jalen Johnson's snaps, no matter what happens with him or they planning on happening with him this offseason. But this is a way that the Chicago Bears can take a look at maybe what Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson are going to look like if they both get opportunities to start. You're not seeing them together, but they're starting to split more of those snaps. And, you know, Tyreek Stevenson coming back from injury can be a big part of that as well. But I do think that, you know, Matt Eberflus is trying to get different looks, trying to see how they perform in different scenarios, because this could be your 2 starting cornerbacks with Kyler Gordon still being in the nickel next season, depending on what happens with Jalen Johnson this offseason. So I think that's something interesting to point out with as well. But, you know, let's get out from that. Those are changes that happened in yesterday's game. But let's talk about some of the key players in yesterday's game. And listen, it comes down to Justin Fields and DJ Moore together once again. Those guys are just, I told you guys before, me, C-Dub, and Bobby, who had an episode on it, the confidence that Justin Fields is starting to play with. 3 sacks, in the first half of the game, none in the second, and we saw Justin Fields come out and play much better. Specifically in that fourth quarter, Justin Fields played amazingly well, and so you're seeing Justin Fields' confidence build. And we've already said and talked about how him and DJ Moore as a connection, they're better when they play together. Even when Tyson Bagent was in there, he didn't really use DJ Moore in the way that Justin Fields does. And so when you look at it, Justin Fields in the fourth quarter of this game went 3 of 7 for 20 yards and no touchdowns. And then when you look at the third quarter in this game, 12 for 18. He played 122 yards, averaged 10, 1 touchdown. I think I said third quarter. It was first half. Played much better in the second half. When you look at the first half, he was only 3 for 5 for 40 yards in this game. But in that second half of the game, he really came and played out. And it's good to see Justin Fields really step up. And DJ Moore as well, playing great in that second half. When you look at it, he had no targets. No targets did DJ Moore have in the first half of that game. And then when you look at the second half of that game, he really stepped up in a big way. In the first half, it was only Deontay Foreman and Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney who got targets. DJ Moore actually got more run attempts than targets he got in the first half. And then when you look in the second half of the game for DJ Moore, much better. 10 targets, 6 receptions, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, has been evident since we got him and he came here. When you go to DJ Moore, good things happen. And the combo between him and Justin Fields has just continued to be amazing. DJ Moore is such a get for this Chicago Bears team and for the development of Justin Fields. It's just really good to see that chemistry continue between those two guys. And then, of course, Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat is just an absolute beast. That's just is what it is. It's an absolute beast. And, what he brings to this team and helping the team get pressures, what he brings as far as getting, even like I said, Justin Jones looking much better out there. And the thing when it comes down to it is Montez Sweat, the thing that makes him such a good defensive end for this team specifically is that not only is his ability to get to the quarterback, but also how good he is in the run game as well. He got a sack yesterday. He got 5 QB hits, a pass deflection, and he stopped a big run on the defensive side of a big run. So Montez Sweat is a monster. And listen, I don't think anybody is now questioning if Montez Sweat is going to live up to the contract that the Chicago Bears gave him. He's going to be worth every single bit of that contract and money that they gave him. And, it's up to the Chicago Bears front office to improve this defensive line overall. Having an offseason of, having Montez Sweat here and build up more chemistry and continuity with that defensive line as well is going to be a big thing for him. But listen, those 3 players stood out the most to me. That's not to say other players didn't make a big game as well. Tremaine Edmonds had a solid game. Can't take away from what Tremaine Edmonds did in this game. Jaquan Brisker leading the team. I think he had 17 tackles in yesterday's game. Always going to be a big part of what the Chicago Bears do as well. Love it when Jaquan Brisker's playing well because he always plays with the confidence, right? Sometimes, he does some things out there that, when we're not winning or when he doesn't make big plays, I'm like, hey, Jaquan, slow down on there. But when you look at it, the 17 tackles, 13 of those being solo, 2 pass deflections from him. Jaquan Brisker's an absolute monster. He continues to play that way. Tyreek Stevenson as well. 1 tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection in that. But then overall, the Chicago Bears defense having 4 sacks and 9 QB hits. Come on, man. Like, that's crazy. Like, for a team that suffered and struggled so much with getting to the quarterback, if they make some key acquisitions this offseason, make some changes, get a better defensive lineman on the other side of Montez Sweat so we have 2 really good defensive linemen, the sky's really the limit when it comes down to what this defense can be. And I got to give credit to Matt Eberflus on the second half that he called in this game. You can't take away from that. Jared Goff in the second half of this game went 9 of 18 for 68 yards. We held the Detroit Lions as a team in the second half of the game to 76 yards as a team. That's huge. That you can't take away from that. So Matt Eberflus also got to get his credit for the game that he coached as well. Luke Getsy, got to give him a little bit as far as in the second half of the game as well, just how we changed some things up. But even with that, one of the things that is still noticeable that we still need, we need a better and more versatile offense, right? Not everything can be all sunshine and rainbows. We need that to come to fruition. We need to have an offense that is just more versatile, not like isn't as stagnant. Yes, the screenplays were down in yesterday's game, but it still was that questionable thing. I give him credit for the second half of the game and how Luke Getsy called it, but I still think that we are not getting the best out of the talent that we have on that offensive side of the ball because we have such a stagnant play caller in Luke Getsy. But the defense, like I just said, and then how we're forcing turnovers. That's an amazing thing as well for the Chicago Bears defense. We are forcing turnovers in a crazy way. We finished with 14 total interceptions through 12 games in the season. And so right now we're third in the league with 13 interceptions and 7 over just the past 2 weeks. That's it. We're still the league leading rush defense on top of all of that. This defense is really just, it's getting to the quarterback. It stopped the third downs yesterday, and you got to just give it credit for how this defense is performing. And so over the last 4 games, if this defense can continue to grow, we can see the offense do enough, right? And you're going to still have big games from players like Deontay Foreman, Justin Fields. They're going to have some big games over the course of that. But it's highly important that this team just continue to go down this path, that it continues to grow. The continuity that they have together is going to be huge for this team as well. And I really think that the best football that we've seen from players on this team specifically is still yet to be seen. We're still getting continuity. We very well could likely win 2 to 3 games on the back half of the season. And how does that change the outlook that we have on the season? Now, one of the biggest questions coming into this now is what does this mean for Matt Eberflus? Is Matt Eberflus doing enough, especially if the Bears continue to win, right? They've already basically one more win, and we've doubled our win total from last season. If we can get 2 more wins, then we're damn near tripled it from last season. So, again, this Bears team and what they can do, how they can perform, how they play. I'm not expecting them to clear the table, but they're really starting to show the things and the acumen that you want to see from this team. And so you got to ask the questions now surrounding, has Matt Eberflus done enough? Hearing Montez Sweat after the game talk about how Matt Eberflus helps this team out and how he keeps this team together, how he reinforces and keeps them kind of bonded together as a team. That's a lot to say from a veteran player that said that he didn't have that in where he came from. So, I take those words and I understand what they mean to him. But I still hope that the Bears aren't prisoners of the moment and don't really look at this and say, what's the best situation for improving this team overall? That's what it comes down to it. And Justin Fields, after this game, taking accountability for it as well, saying that he isn't satisfied with the victory over the line, saying this: there are a few throws I missed. There are multiple plays during the game where we could have executed better. The third downs and just throws downfield, of course. There were a couple that I wanted back, but we won the game, and there's still room to get better. So that's just the hope for the future. I continue to love the growth and development of Justin Fields as a quarterback in this league and a leader in this league. And so, I know there's a lot of questions, and Bears fans are right to have it on what the future is going to hold for Justin Fields. Is he going to stay the quarterback? Is it the right decision for him to stay on? Should the Bears use that number 1 overall pick? But I think when it comes down to it, we're going to see that this team is going to dig in. This team is going to improve the trenches. This team is going to improve the weapons. Hopefully that means Marvin Harrison Jr., and they're going to bring in a better team that through development and other things like that is going to come along, and we're going to see a much better Chicago Bears team to start the season last year. Hopefully we're not starting off at a deficit, kind of like what we had to do this year. So at the end of the day, man, I love what this team is doing. I love that they're winning football games right now. I love that they're starting to turn things around. And yeah, it comes down to it. Jaquan Brisker making big plays. So many of the young players, the first and second year players, showing that they are going to be big pieces of whatever this team is once they do turn it around. And hey, let's hope that we are next season and towards the end of this season talking about more wins, but we're laying down a platform and a foundation to build off on where the Bears are going to be winning even more games next season. And hopefully we finally, here at Chicago Bears Central, get to talk about some postseason play, at least next season. Doubt it's going to come this season, even though the Bears are technically still in that wild card hunt. But we'll see what it all boils down and turns into. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Chicago Bears Central. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.